I'm Scott Sewell, and this is the second part of the video series on Azure Synapse Link for Dataverse. In the first video, we talked about how that Azure Synapse Link for Dataverse sets up a continuous replication pipeline of moving the data from Dataverse and putting a copy of it into Azure Data Lake for low-cost offline storage in a secure format. And then once it's in that place, Azure Synapse Analytics sits on top of it to make those files able to be queried using tools like SSMS or Power BI. In this video, we're going to pick up from there and show you how you can get started with setting this up and what are the prerequisites, or how do we set up the environment. And obviously, I'll need to be an administrator on the Power App side, but I'll probably also either need to be an administrator in Azure or work with a buddy from the Azure side that can set me up with the resources that I need there. In this demo, I'm going to work as if I've got access to the whole thing in my demo environment, just to show you a simpler process. There's links down below that show all the details about all the pieces that are needed. So your environment, you'll need to find all the details that are relevant to you. So in this case, I'm in the Power Apps workspace and go to my Azure Synapse link. And I do need a piece of information from this point. So I'm going to click New Link, and it's going to tell me that my environment is listed as I'm currently in East US. And it tells me what are the other environments, are other locations that are compatible with East US in order to have the Synapse Workspace and the Azure and my Dynamics or Dataverse environment in the same location. It's important that I create them in the same way in order to make it compatible. So I'll close that, and I'll go over to Azure Synapse Analytics. So I just search for it, click on Synapse Analytics, and choose to create one. So in this case, now I'm in Azure, and I'm going to have several things I'm going to fill out. Now, the naming conventions, different organizations are going to have different patterns that they follow for naming conventions. My naming is just going to be for this demo environment. So take it with a grain of salt and really look at how you name things in your environment to follow the standard that your team has established. So I'm going to create a resource group, and I'm just going to give it a base name like my environment name, and a managed resource group, which I'll go ahead and add as manage to tie it together. And then I'm going to create a workspace name. And if you'll notice, the region it defaulted to was UK South, which is not compatible with my environment. So I need to scroll up and choose a region that is compatible with my Dataverse environment. So that's that important first step there. Now I'm going to create an account name. We'll create that, paste that in, and say storage. Well, probably has to, and I have to use lowercase. There's some rules around the naming there, and it also has to be unique. So follow those rules, and I'll files. And there's my file system. Go ahead and create that. Now it's going to automatically assign me to be a contributor in that data lake storage. Basically, minimum requirements there. Again, once you get this set up, you'll want to work with your administrator to make sure that all those permissions are set up according to the documentation. The next step is creating the security for it. In this, there is a SQL server that sets up, not a true SQL server, but it's a serverless SQL, and it does need to have administrative login. So I'm going to create that login. I've already got it pasted in there, and I'll paste it in to match it. That needs to be secure. Make sure that's in place. And then the rest of it is set up to allow network storage. All these are in place. Go to networking and tag. The next piece will be tags that might be needed. Review it and create it. And it's going to go ahead and start the process. Now, before I actually hit create, it does prompt me and let me know what the pricing is for this, for my environment. In this case, the serverless SQL estimated cost of per terabyte transferred of $5 per terabyte. Again, really scalable to what you need. But if I'm only pulling across a small amount of data, I'm only paying for what I'm using. If I'm pulling across massive amounts over and over and over repeatedly, I'm paying just for that ability to scale. But now I've got the elements in place, and I can go ahead and hit create. Once I hit create, it's going to start the process of spinning this up. And it'll take a few minutes to do that. So while that does, I'm going to go get a cup of coffee. All right, now we've got the deployment is actually completed, and we have all the elements set up inside of Azure to be able to set up the replication. We can look at the resource group and see that it's set up the Synapse Workspace and the storage account, so that all that is in place, that I can now use that over on the Power Apps side. So I'll go back to Power Apps and click New Link. And the first thing it does ask me if I'm going to connect it to a workspace, and I do want to use that, because if I don't, I'm only getting the connection to the file system where the files are being dumped in that kind of a raw format, just the CSVs in raw format, and very difficult to query that. But I do want to say I want it in the workspace, so I choose my subscription, which again, I only have the one subscription in this demo environment, and I choose the resource group, which has helpfully populated with the resource group that I have. It gives me the workspace name as well as the storage account that I'm using. All that's in place. And now the next step is to go and click next, and I can then start the process of adding the tables. Now there's a few steps in here and a lot of options, so we're going to save that for the next video. But in the short term, take a look at the documentation below, get your resources in place so that when you're ready to start adding tables, it'll be a snap to get all these in place and get them rolling together. I look forward to the next video, and I'm excited about working through this journey with you.